None is first. Join if you forgive me for being disorderly.
Oh, no.
Just to name this side.
That's fine.
Let's sing one good song to warm our hearts. Kalina's story about Simcha and Sukkot. There's one story. Oh, wait, let's get it here. It's a must. The story is the Heilige Kalina, of Aunt Kalina, who tells the story every year the second night of Sukkot. In a certain village, there are two people. One is a Kalina Chosid, but he's so poor, Gewalt, and on the other side of the street lives a rich Yid, a Misnagit, forgive me. The Chosid has nothing to eat, but Gewalt is always full of joy, right? And the rich man has everything in the world, is always angry, bitter. What's the worst night for a bitter person? Friday night, right? You sit with your wife and your children, you curse each other, you yell at each other, and it's hell. What is the most beautiful night for a person who's besimcha? Friday night, Gewalt, sitting with my wife, with my children. So every Friday night, besides being hell among each other, it's also hell because he hears this poor chosid on the other side of the street singing. And every song is like putting a knife in his heart, right? And he can't stand it. What can you do? But the worst of the whole year is Sukkot, because then both people eat outside, right? So the rich Misnagit eating outside, yelling at his wife, the children yell back at him, and the Chosid was sitting there, mamish tachas kanfi as shchina, mamish Gewalt. So one certain year, the rich man decided, I'm not going through this again. I'm not going to let this Chosid have a sukkah. He was very influential, like the whole city was depending on him for livelihood. So he made it known. Naturally, this poor Yidele didn't have money to buy wood for the sukkah. He would schnorr. This one gives him a piece of wood, and the other one, he would get the sukkah together. So he let it known that anybody who give one piece of wood to the poor Chosid, that's it, will lose his job. So what can you do? Usually one day after Sukkot, right away, the poor Yidel is going from house to house. Everybody says to him, sorry, can't give you anything because we'll lose our job. So the last night before Sukkot, he's desperate. And I'm sure you know that Sukkot, we get into learning in Sukkot, you can't live without a Sukkah, right? The world thinks I'm homeless if I don't have a good apartment. But my neshama is homeless if I don't have a sukkah, right? Anyway, to make it very short, how are you? What's happening? He walks up and down the street, he has a Gewalt idea. And I didn't know this until from the story. We should live long and happy, we should need a tombstone. But some poor people have no money for tombstone, so what they do, they put in a piece of wood and write the name on it. And on the piece of wood, it usually says, Pei Nun Po Nitman. And then you fill in the name. So you realize that on the cemetery, there are about 100 big beams of wood standing there. And it says already on it, Pei Nun Po Nitman. He says, 100 people are going to die over Sukkot. So who cares? So he schlepped them, still I hate, nobody saw it, and he built a Gewalt sukkah, never had such a beautiful sukkah. The only thing is, on every piece of wood, it says Pei Nun Po Nitman. Okay, the first night of Sukkah, everybody knows, here mamish b'simcha. The second night Simcha, the second night Sukkah is where the she'eva, you mamish let loose. So the rich man couldn't control himself. He runs over to this poor man and he yells like a wild beast, "Who gave you the wood?" So he said, "Chapnish, cool it. I'll explain to you everything, but sit down." Okay. Let me tell you what happened. As he realized, because you told everybody not to give me wood, so I couldn't build a sukkah. So I had nothing to do, I was just roaming the streets. So the night before Sukkot, I'm roaming down the streets, and suddenly behold, the angel of death, my old buddy, walking down the street. The Malach HaMovos that's going down the street. Can't believe it. I say, "Hey, brother, old buddy, savior of mankind, what are you doing here in my God-forsaken city?" He says, "I'm on a very special mission here. I'm on my way to kill the rich man." So he says, "What happened?" I says, "I told the Malach HaMovos, the angel of death, don't waste your energy on him. He's dead. He is so dead, you won't believe it. He doesn't have 1 ounce of joy in his bones. It's below your dignity even to touch this kind of merchandise." So the angel of death said to me, "Thank you so much. And for that, to show you my appreciation, I give you all those beams in the cemetery as a gift." So I says, "You see here, Parnitman. Not so simple, right? So he got through to the rich man. Mama, she began crying. He says, "What should I do? Can't get the sadness out of my heart." So he says, "Gewalt, there's only one way. You have to come to Kalin, to Mahelike Rebbe." And the truth is, the story was told of Aaron Kalina, the grandson of the first Rab Aaron, that this way out low kind of rich man became one of the biggest Kalina Chassidim. He just needed somebody. It's unbelievable, It is unbelievable how easy it is sometimes to take a completely forsaken and lost person, how easy it is to turn them on, right? Because especially those who reach bottom, they know they have nowhere else to go. Anyway, it's a good story. I hope you'll tell it to each other the second night of Sukkot, because the Heilige Kalina would tell it every year. But also, let me tell you, friends, if someone is a little bit besimcha, don't think it's because you did it. It's a gift from heaven. It's just a gift. Because, you can keep the whole Torah, keep every word, be good, be sweet and cute, and never do anything wrong, and still be full of bitterness. Possible. I had the privilege of being in houses of people really who keep Shabbos. They jump out of the window backward if God forbid not to keep the 39 melachos, right? And yet, Friday night, they're sitting there yelling at their wife and their children, abusing their wife and their children. Murder, right? Mamish murder. There are a lot of melachos of Shabbos which are only the Rabbanon without getting involved. Kas is midaraisa. Kas is daraisa, right? It's not a joke. Some of us think to yell at my wife and my children doesn't look nice. No, that doesn't look nice, right? I tell you an unbelievable story. He comes in my shul and says to me, I saw this Yidale carrying a newspaper on Broadway on Shabbos. He says, if you give him an aliyah, the whole thing. So I told him, without getting around the depth, today we don't have a real Shus Rabbim. Anybody ever done Masechta Shabbos knows. It's a Kamalis. That means basically the caring is not as awesome as it was in the time of the desert. Lashon Hara is Emes D'Oraisa, right? They said, the Avera you are doing and the Avera he did doesn't even compare, right? Anyway. I sang it yesterday, so let's sing it again. Yeah, it was good? Yeah, Hashem. It's a great privilege. This Chosin, we met yesterday at the wedding, this Chosin is such a sweet neshama. You know him a little bit and not so much? Yeah, unbelievable. But he lives in this, super frum, super straight, and super intellectual, super, right? He was 40 years old when he met me the first time. So he says to me now that when he met me the first time, he was hoping they'll be at his wedding. So how could they not come to his wedding, What's happening? Oh. Okay. I'm sure it's clear to you, friends, that what's so special about us? Comes Rosh Hashanah. It is clear to me that there's nothing like Rosh Hashanah, right? He'll ask me, what's about Yom Kippur? I say, Yom Kippur, yeah. It's good, but how does it compare to Rosh Hashanah, right? When you hear the shofar, that's the essence of Yiddishkeit. Then comes Yom Kippur. I say, Yom Kippur, Gewalt. What's about Rosh Hashanah? I say, yeah, Rosh Hashanah was sweet and cute, I wasn't sure, I listened to the shofar. But how does it compare to Yom Kippur, Gewalt? How does it compare to Kol Nidre? How does it compare to Ne'ilah when I say Hashem Elokim, this Rosh Hashanah's kid stuff? And comes Sukkot. I say, Rosh Hashanah was very nice. Yom Kippur, I cannot knock it, it was very important. But how does it compare to sit in the Sukkah? But sitting in my Nusa Gwal, Ravani Shleilim, sitting mamish in the presence of God, something else. Tell me benching lulav, Gewalt. Then comes Simchus Torah. I say, how was Sukkot? I say, Sukkot, it's very nice, but How does it compare to Simchas Torah? Mamish, I'm holding the Torah 48 hours, right? Then comes Chanukah. And I want you to know, I heard it from the Baba Rebbe. He says, comes Chanukah. I say, Simchas Torah was very nice. Yom Kippur, I can't knock it. The Ohr HaGonos, right? Mashiach's light, the Ohr HaGonos, the hidden light is shining into me. How does it compare to Simchas Torah, right? Then comes Purim. I say, Rabbi Shalom, you asked me, what's about Chanukah? I said, yeah, Chanukah was very nice, the light, appreciated. Simchas Torah, yeah, it was good. Purim, needs to wipe out Amalek, to wipe out evil from the world. You want me to send Shlachmonas? Shocking lulav, it's very holy, but sending Shlachmonas, that's beyond everything. And comes Pesach. I say, listen, you know what it means to sit by the Seder? You know what it means? Rabbi Shemash takes out your neshama and takes it out from everything wrong in the world. And you know it's coming. You know what it means to listen to your children asking Manishtana? Nothing compares to that, right? Then comes Shavuos. I say, listen, brother, you must be joking. Where would we be without Shavuos, right? All the holidays without Shavuos wouldn't exist, right? So Shavuos is it. I'm receiving the Torah from Mount Sinai. And they come to Rosh Hashanah. And then you'll ask me, how was Shavuos? Say, Shavuos was very nice, but was up all night, was learning, was a go out, but Rosh Hashanah. You hear Mamash God's voice, you hear God blowing the shofar. Okay, so Baba Rebbe said, it sounds a little bit funny, right? It's true. But what is there really to it? He says the truth is that every Yom Tov, we get higher and higher and higher, right? So after last Shavuos, this Rosh Hashanah, it is really higher than last Shavuos, right? And then comes Yom Kippur, and it really is higher than last Rosh Hashanah, right? Then comes Sukkot, because we are becoming higher and higher to Gewalt Torah. Okay, so last night we were learning about Yom Kippur. It's Gewalt, right? But now we talk about Sukkot. And please, with all due respect to Yom Kippur, right? How does it compare to Sukkot? And I cannot make up my mind. You learn first Simchas Beis Sheva.
First is Rava, then we went back to...
Yeah. Okay, maybe let's learn something which is not so clear to everyone. Mish levo Simchas Beis Sheva levo Simcha Miyomav. That's a Mishnah, and the Mishnah says, anybody who has not seen the joy of drawing the water has never seen joy in his life. And we are talking here about the time of the Holy Temple. And I'm sure it's clear to you, as much as all of us are trying to be besimcha, but the real simcha we never tasted. I'm talking even about the simcha of everyday life. Because in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, right, the Gilui Shechina, the light coming down from heaven, and the joy in the Beis HaMikdash was so utterly awesome that, and if you remember, the Gemara says that every morning when a person woke up, they were so happy because they knew that whatever I did wrong last night was already cleansed with a korban tomit this morning, right? And before you went to sleep, you were so happy because whatever I did wrong today was cleansed with a korban tomit of the afternoon, right? And I'm sure it's clear to you, all our sadness comes from our mistakes. Simple as it is. Maybe it's good to remember what Reb Nachman says. Whenever we do something wrong, what's our first reaction? Instead of being angry at ourselves, I'm angry at somebody I love. It's awesome. Got to be angry at somebody. And You know, it is heartbreaking. And all of us, we are guilty of it. You know, sometimes you see parents yelling at children, husband and wife yelling at each other. You know what the problem is? They did something wrong on that day. And instead of yelling at themselves, they yell at their wife, at their children, right? And children are never helpless. So instead of telling their parents, hey, sister, mother, brother, father, how about cleaning up your own act before you yell at me, right? But never. They don't know, right? Remember, we're learning the deepest Torah in the world. If Yosef HaTzadik, basically the holiness of Yosef HaTzadik is that he was not angry with his brothers. It's beyond us. They take the boy of 17 and sell him, ruin his life, and he wasn't angry. Because when the Torah says, it was not just a formality. Moshe Rabbeinu, it wasn't the Jewish press, and he was interviewed, what are your feelings about your brothers? He says, I have a lot of love in my heart. I read this book. You know, what? It was a mistake, right? So Rav Nachman says, if Yosef HaTzadik would have given in to the wife of Potiphar, he would not have been able to love his brothers anymore. Because when you do something wrong, the first people you hate, those who are close to you. Right? But anyway, so now listen to this. On Yom Kippur, after God cleanses me from everything, suddenly I'm mamish gewalt am I loving my wife, my children, my husband. Gewalt am I loving every Yid. And you know why the esrog and the lulav are never together all year long? And the lulav is angry at the esrog, not because the lulav is so holy and the esrog is not, or the aroma, because they did something wrong. Oh, but now after they're cleansed, the esrog and the lulav are getting together. So this is Sukkot. Well, then comes the second night of Sukkot. Mishel Ros Simchas B'Ez She'eva. This is like billions of tons of joy are coming down from heaven. Like mamash, you're drawing with your bare hands. And I want you to know, even sadly enough, the Beis HaMikdash is not rebuilt yet, but anybody who has ever been by those big rebbes, and I had the privilege really, basically, my most B'Ez She'eva I was in Bobov. It's gewalt. You know, in Lubavitch it's also beautiful, but Lubavitch is still a little bit head stuff. You know, Bobov is mamish hard. You know, Schropschitz, Häuser mit der Blin, I remember the first Simchas She'eva, when the Bobov Rebbe came to America. There were only 20 people. It was in those days there were not so many Chassidish yet in America. It was 20 people. I wish I would have had guts the next day to write on all the stories he told us. It was so good, you know. You know what I call a good story? A good story is a story when you hear it, you pray it should never end. Because it's so good, you know. When the Bobov Rebbe tells a story, it's like not just a sweet story, it's good for your head, for your heart. It's like, I know in Bobov, when the Rebbe tells the story, you're just afraid even to move, because maybe, God forbid, you will miss one sound, you know. So here comes Ishbitz Torah. The first thing he's asking, whenever there's a Yom Tov, a Simcha, you have to have a feast. Simchas Yom Tov, what Simchas Yom Tov, Samachta B'Chagecha, you have to eat. Simchas B'Ez She'eva, we don't find that they ate. It's crazy. It means it's a completely different kind of Simcha. And then he asks one more deep thing, we will come to in a second. The deepest question is, if you remember, the Gemara says that Simchas Rosh nobody was sleeping. They were mamish up all night. Did you tell them everything about the Simchas Rosh more the details, or not so much? Oh, you did? Some. Okay, forgive me, so I'll make it fast. Simchas Rosh, just imagine all of us, we should live to see it. The second night after dark, we come to the Beis HaMikdash. And then the Peche Kahuna, all the children of the Kohanim going, and you draw water from the Me'er Shaloach. And then, because actually, the Nisach HaMayim is only in the next morning. And also, I don't want to go into know why nobody really talks about it anymore, because that night, Be'ez Sheva was Kabbalah, right? What? Oh, that's right, Mom. You have to stop me whenever I say something and you think people don't know. Yeah. Okay. You know what Beis She'eva means? The house of drawing water. And let me just throw something in very important. Mom, thank you for telling me. All year long we were pouring wine over the altar. Once a year for 6 days, 7 days, 6 days, we were pouring out water over the altar. And that was the greatest joy in the world. What's the difference between wine and water? And the answer is very simple. All the rabbis say that. Wine is, you have to work very hard to make it. You take a grape, you work on it. Water, the moment you start working on it, doesn't taste good anymore. Water tastes only good. Have you ever been in Switzerland? Like Lillian in Switzerland, and you drink water, mamish in the mountains from a little water there. It's better than Kedem wine, it's better than anything in the world, right? I'm sorry, man? Yeah. You hear, friends? All year long, I always think you have to work so hard to be good. After Yom Kippur, I worked so hard to do tshuva, and suddenly you realize, Gewalt, I'm like water. The truth is I don't have to do anything. I mean, not for me, I shouldn't do anything. I don't mean it literally not to do anything. But mamish, the way I am. You know, we all have a lot of wine friends tell us, do this, you have to improve on this. You have ever seen those wine shidduchim? The color hopes the chosn will become better, and the chosn comes, he'll change the color, and then both of them hope they'll change their appearance. You see, the shidduch has to be water. By the ceremony, you do the wine, because you have to work. When you get married, you have to work on your marriage a little bit, like wine. But it has to be water. So, Simchas Beis She'eva, the dancing was so awesome. And here you have to open your hearts in case, I'm sure Mimi and Yoni told you. Not everybody was dancing. Only the holy people were dancing. Awesome. And the holy people were not just ordinary dancers like you think 10 Alte Yidden got together, they're hopping around a little bit. It was also, they were the greatest artists in the world. They were mamish clowns, who were, doing all kinds of unbelievable things with fire, with eggs, jumping into, unbelievable. And nobody was sleeping. And the Gemara says, the most we did, we would lean on somebody's shoulder and sleep a little bit. Then the Gemara also, and I want you really to open your hearts, that Prophet Jonah, his bar mitzvah day was on the first day of Sukkot. He came to the holy temple and he was dancing all night. And in the middle of the dancing, he had this prophecy to go to Nineveh. Did you tell it to them? Not yet. Yeah, you did? Awesome, right? We always think Prophet Jonah was chief rabbi of Israel, an old established prophet. He had an 800 number, and you can call him for a little prophecy, charge it to the American Express. He was 13 years old. Okay, we'll get into it. You see, I'm quoting here from Sod Yeshurim and Tzumas Beersheba, because this whole Torah goes together. But let me give it to you as much as I can. And here I want you to open your hearts in the most awesome way. Imagine we'll all go to the Holy Wall Friday night, and there'll be a voice from heaven, only the holy people should get up to dance. What will happen? I will say to myself, I can't do it because look bad. The people see that I think I'm holy, right? Let's wait a little bit what will happen. Then David will think, I really should get up because obviously they mean me. But it doesn't look nice. Then Micha will say, it's a must, I have to. But Nama will never forgive me if I make myself so big. Then Menachem and Yossi, everybody will think to themselves. In the meantime, nobody will dance. This is a most awesome story. The Heilige Süße Rabbi Lemelech, when his daughter got married, he announced any person who ever did something wrong should not dare to dance. So nobody got up. So the Heilige Rabbi David Lakes, one of the last leftover pupils of the Bat Shem, he says, okay, so nobody's dancing. I don't care, I'm dancing. You know how deep this is? Who are the real holy people? They know they're not holy. Because the more holy you are, the more you see how far you are from it. So what? There should be no dancing? I don't care what you think. So all the real tzaddikim, right? The real holy, the emissary, they got up to dance. And like the others were still standing there. But know something else. What should be the reaction of the people? Chutzpah. He really thinks he's holy. He's my neighbor. I watch him. He's disgusting. I say to David, let you see Moshe's dancing. What a chutzpah! Don't you think we should stop him right away? They would say, no, let's maybe let's call up Mimi first if we should make a big tumult or not. And you know what it was? It was so much simcha for everyone when we saw the others dancing. And here, this is awesome. We always think that the greatest joy is when something good is happening to me. And I bless you, maybe we should test it sometimes. The greatest joy is if I can be happy for somebody else. Gewalt is it, Gewalt. If I could reach the level that someone comes to me and says to me, you know something, I won $1 million. And I should be so happy, more happy than it would have happened to me. That is the real level of Avodas Hashem. You know, we always think give to Hashem b'simcha means while I'm serving God, I have to smile and be happy. What? The Rebbe Hashem is a clown. He needs more clowns in this world. We're talking about emiskite, realness. Why was Aaron HaKohen chosen to be the high priest? Because when God says to Moshe, I want you to redeem Israel, Moshe Rabbeinu was so afraid maybe Aaron HaKohen will feel slighted because he was older. So God says to Moshe, V'roacho v'somach b'libay. He will see you and he will be so happy. You know what that means? If God would have told Aaron HaKohen, you are the chosen one to redeem Israel, he would have been happy, right? But when he was told it's his brother, he was mama so happy. That's awesome. Yeah, what do you want to say?
I just want to ask why says she more happy versus Kamokla, not more.
Yeah. Okay, Heilige Rebbe, you are on the highest level, but if you give me a chance, the train is just beginning, right? But you're right. More, how is it possibly more, right? But since you asked me, I have to answer you right away.
That's what everyone.
No, you're the best. Basically, we'll see later on how it develops, but basically, when I get $1 million, I know I don't deserve it, right? When I hear my God gave $1 million to somebody else, I say, Gewalt, I'm so glad, because nobody is more deserving than my friend, right? Gewalt. You see, our problem is, as much as we look down at ourselves, we are convinced that we are the best inside, right? And we can't get it out of us. And here, this is a Torah from the Holy Vizhnitz. As much as Vizhnitz and Ishbitz were not so close, but who cares? The Vizhnitz Torah is, why did Cain kill his brother? He was jealous that God accepted his sacrifice and did not accept Cain's sacrifice. He said, what should he have really done? The Heilige Vizhnitz says, you should have been so happy that God accepted the sacrifice of his brother. And anybody who knows a little Vizhnitz about Ahavas Yisrael, right? Nobody else could have said it. So glad to have a holy brother. There's a Rishon Torah which is also Gewalt. The Heilige Shatner, if you know that the Heilige Rishon had 6 sons. The Heilige Shatner was asked, what's going on with all the 6 sons of the Rishon? I shared it with you a few times. So he says like this, my brother, the Sadiger, when he says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, he can revive people. He can be Machayim Mason, Mamash. He can bring, in Rishon, I have to tell you something. I don't want to get involved and lose tracks. I remember to come back. The Rebbes would not daven in public. The Rebbes would always daven in the little room by themselves. And literally nobody was permitted to be there. And the Heilige Sadiger's grandson, Reb Sroh, one person walked in and he heard the Rebbe saying, Baruch Atu Hashem, and he was in a coma for 3 months. The way the Rebbe were davening when they thought nobody is there. Awesome, right? So he says, if anybody would hear my holy brother saying Hashem Echad, could revive him. My brother, the Tshotkiva, he says, when he takes the siddur in his hand, God says to him, Moshe David, my kind, I give you the whole world. Do with it what you want to. He said, but my brother is so frum, he gives it right back to God. He says, I would keep it, know what to do with it. And so on. He thought about his brothers. Then someone says to him, oh, what's about you? He said, isn't it enough that they have 5 holy brothers? So the old Chassidim said, you know what level he reached? He reached the level that he is so happy that somebody else is holy. There is humility, but there's something else. Being happy with somebody else. And I want you to know something, the downfall of the world began with Cain and Hevel, right? What do we do when we get married? Wishing you and your mother's up again. We invite the whole world. You know what we are hoping? that maybe we can make a new world where people will be happy when something good happens to somebody else. Okay, bless you. Okay, listen, let's see the words inside. Hine lo niska b'gmora shum achilu shtir. There was no eating. Rak ha'oyer sho yishom v'atzavtzav. You know what was there? God's light was shining, and it was the deepest friendship. The deepest friendship. And you have to realize the deepest friendship was not only that people were happy, it was also tzaddikim were dancing, right? Every person was so happy that the other person is also here. I'm so happy that everything is good for you. I'm happy you're so beautiful. I'm happy you're so everything. Sorry. Ki be'emes ike simchahu mitzavtze u'me'or Hashem yisborach. She'yoy la'odom l'da'as mahu etzel boiroi. What is the greatest joy in the world? The deepest joy in the world to know how much do I mean to God. You know, we can live all our life, do everything right, and have never tasted how important am I to God. Imagine if you would for 1 second, what's going on there? Hello, it's still on? Okay, good. If I could for 1 second taste, what am I to God? And now listen to this. You know how lonely we are? Because we have no idea how much we mean to another person. We don't know. Do you know that husband and wife can be married for 200 years, having 55 children, 2,000 grandchildren? And how do they really know how much they love each other? They'll never know. Imagine if it would shine into them, the deepest revelation of the world, how much another person loves me. The simcha. And here comes the deepest joy in the world. Why am I really not so happy when something happens to you? Because basically I'm not so convinced if you love me, and I don't know how much you love me. I want you to know, if I would meet a person and it would shine into me from heaven that this person really loves me, you know how glad I would be if everything good is happening to that person. Because I love you so much back. I cannot believe that you love me so much. Awesome, right? And now listen to this. This is the deepest. And I'm quoting here from Sod Yeshurun. I have to fill in. You know where sleeping is coming from? The Gemara says sleeping is 1/60th of dying. And the more close a person Chas v'Shalom is to death, the more they have to sleep. And you know that tzaddikim, the holy people who are really far from the tree of knowledge, don't sleep so much. Do you know how Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchever would sleep? It's not to be believed. I mean, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchever, he was every second aware that there's one God, right? Now how can you sleep in God's presence? So he had two people learning loud. One was learning Mishnayos, one was learning Gemara. Every 10 minutes he would wake up and yell, "Oi, heilige Tate!" And he would sleep again a little bit. And then again he would wake up and say, "Heilige Tate!" And then by the third heilige Tate he would wash his hands and learn. You know the Satmar Rebbe? You know Satmar Rebbe had Nebuch. if you agree with his shitta, with his philosophy or not, doesn't matter. From the day of his bar mitzvah, he only slept in a bed on Friday night on Yom Tov. He never slept in a bed. And you know how important it is for the feet sometimes to be, like, I don't know, who's Josh or the doctor, for the feet it's very important not always to be down. So the Satmar Rebbe had awesome swollen feet, gefährlich. And the doctor forbid him to dance on Simchas Torah, you know. I remember it was one time I had the privilege of being there, Shmini Atzeres, and there were 4 doctors standing in the corner because they thought Mamish Gatwa something is happening. And the Heilige Satmar Rebbe danced for 6 hours. You know, in Satmar, like in Bobov, only the Rebbe dances, not the Chassidim, the Kufas. So there were thousands of people, this long line. Satmar was going back and forth, Mamish. I say running back and forth, he was flying, you know. Or in Bobov, you know, Mamish, awesome, right? He didn't sleep, right? So what did he do after Hakufas? The doctor was begging him he should lie down. So he lied down, and then he asked, is the doctor gone? Told him, yeah, he left. So he got up right away, and he learned all night. You know. So you hear, friends, I want you to know something very, very deep. When you're sad, you are tasting a little bit more death when you sleep. When you're filled with joy, it's a different kind of sleeping, right? This is just really to rest your bones. It's not even tasting it. So he says that Basimus Vesha we were so much out of the tree of knowledge. We were so much out of judging good or bad, and the way we look at people, the way we look at ourselves. There was mamish no death in the world. And now listen to this unbelievable thing. Imagine if the tree of life would be shining. How often would we eat? We wouldn't have to eat 3 times a day. Maybe we'd eat once a year, right? Maybe every 1,000 years we have a little sudula and we eat. Although the Zohar said we would eat on Shabbos. Because on Shabbos you don't eat because you're hungry. On Shabbos you eat Lekuvot Shabbos, right? But you don't need it. And now listen to this. This is the deepest Torah. You know what happens to you when you eat? You are the furthest away from death I can be is at that moment when I eat. Because the moment I stop eating, I'm already on my way out, right? Because if I don't eat anymore, I'm chas from dying, right? Why is it when you meet a good friend, you eat something? To let you know that right now, when in your presence, I'm completely alive, right? So you eat something. On Yom Tov, I want to be completely alive, I have to eat something. But Simchas Beis She'eva was so much alive. The light was shining. A light which is not shining all year long. And mamish, it was clear to me how important I am to God. How important we are to each other. And you see what it is. How much, this is the deepest Torah, how much we trust each other. It's unbelievable if we would mamish x-ray our heart. How much do children trust their parents? How much do husband and wife trust each other? You know what the Ishbitzer says? When I got very tired, I was leaning on my friend. Means when I didn't have strength anymore, I was leaning on my friend. And I was sleeping 2 minutes on my friend's shoulder. It's the deepest way. So here everybody knows I want you to know, the Gemara says that The Torah is like a river flowing, right? You have to go? The Torah is like a river flowing, right? If I learn something, or if I learn something and I think I'm better than you, imagine I walk up to a person who's a great scholar and says, can you tell me something? He thinks to himself, this person is a dope, right? I have 4 PhDs and I don't even know I can read or write properly. I'll throw him some Torah. Imagine he would open up and say, I want to tell you everything I know. How much light there would be shining, right? Just remember, the tree of knowledge is not only that it's knowledge and no heart. It's stingy knowledge. It's so stingy. Gewalt stingy. Because I think I'm more important than you. I know more than you. I'm more holy than you. And besides, I don't even know if you care for me. Why should I tell you everything I know, right? So Simos Pesach She'eva, everybody wanted to give over everything to somebody else. And you know what exile is? Ishvata says it 1,000 times. Exile is that I'm holding on. I'm not ready to give anything to you. The first night we get out of exile, what do? I say, Kol dich von Yetzer v'yecho. You need anything, I'll give it to you. Kol dich tzurch Yetzer v'yifsach. Friends, it's so clear to me and to you. Take husband and wife, parents and children. How much are they ready to give to each other? Always holding back. Always holding back. But can you imagine that all of Israel is sitting there and they want to give everything to each other? They want to give everything to each other. You don't need eating, you don't need sleeping. I'm so glad with you. And if I know something which you don't know, I'm ready to give it to you. This person, I want to give it to you. So you see what it is, what he says. Simos Pesach She'eva was not just drawing the water from the mikveh of the Me'er Shloach, mamish drawing from each other's hearts. We are, it means drawing, not giving out a drop. Drawing, mamish, right? We are dripping and dropping people, right? When I see somebody I like, I give him 1 drop, half a drop, maybe 2 drops. Are you turning on and it's flowing like Niagara Falls? There's a passage in the Psalms that says, Hashem lamabul yoshav, Master of the world, can you turn the clock back? Can there be another flood? So everybody's saying a flood was terrible. But the answer is there are 2 kinds of flood. There's a flood which destroys the world, and there's a flood when Mashiach is coming, which rebuilds the world. Today, how much do we love each other? A little bit. How much Torah are we learning? It's not Niagara Falls. It's not a flood level, right? We are non-flood people. It says Hashem lamabul yoshav. Then God will return again to the flood. And then Vayeshev Hashem melech la'olam. Then God will be the king forever. Between people, the more they are on the flood level, the longer their friendship lasts, the longer their marriage lasts. Mamish on the blessed Yigaina was the flood level, mamish, non-stop, not holding back. Okay, now, if you have strength, we have time. I'll go back to this in a second. because I have to learn about Aaron according to make it more clear. Want to say something right now, Mimi or Yonah? Anybody want to say something right now? The door is open. Yeah? Micha, you want to say something right now? Yeah? Let's hear.
Something I thought of yesterday on the teaching. Hello is very famous. Anita told me right? So what's that mean?
You have to talk loud, brother.
Elul is the Rashi Tevos of Anita Dodi Vidodi. I am my love is for you. So what does that mean? So when he says I'm for God, God is for me. Once the Torah says that love is for you, once Anita Dodi, you mean every Jew?
100%, yeah.
Dodi, is every Jew back to me? And that's the preparation for Rosh Hashanah.
100%, brother. He's a good Yidder, you know. I'm proud of you. One Yid came to the Baba Rebbe, he says, I know what Ador means Ani, Doidi, Rabbeinu Shalom. On the left side, the Sukkot statue. Okay, beautiful friends. Right now I'm already a little pressed for time. I mean, I am, maybe you are. I'm not. But, so I want you, Mamish, you know, Sukkot is, how do you say, with the Lushan? Diras Arai, or Diras Kva.
A temporary dwelling?
Temporary and?
Permanent.
Permanent. Okay, good. Okay, Sukkot has to be temporary. You cannot say, Gvar, I love Sukkot so much, I build a house for $5 million on 5th Avenue, and it's the strongest building in the world. No. It has to be a building which is shuckling. When the wind is blowing, you should think, oh, vey. The real Sukkah is like someone says, each time you sit down to eat, you hope by the end of the meal, Sukkah will still be there. Hopefully. What's next? Oh yeah, you're right, yeah. She's listening to every word, that's dangerous, right? Brother Chaim, wish you good Sukkahs. You hear, friends? It says, Diras Arai. It has to be temporary. You know what means temporary? You're not stuck anywhere. I want you, Mamish, to open your hearts. You know, yesterday we were learning, if you remember, that there's some inside voice, the most destructive voice, that I'm completely worthless. Okay, I don't want to chew over from yesterday, but what's my second step? My second step is, I say I would like to be good, but I'm so much in the habit of doing wrong that I can't stop. You know habit? You know what the Baal Shem Tov says? The greatest slave driver in the world is habit. Your own habit is the slave driver. Remember when Avraham Avinu saw the 3 pagans? He says, "V'rachatzu raglechem," wash your feet. And everybody knows from all the Rebbes, regel comes from the word hergel, wash off your habits. Before you want to become a Yid, got to get rid of your habits. So basically he says the deepest Torah in the world. The one yontif to get out of all the habits is be completely temporary. We are not even talking about temporary doing wrong. Even good. You know, what's bugging us a lot of times about people who are really good and sweet? What's bugging us? They're so stationary. You know, someone says to imagine I walk up to a Frum Yid, ask him, would you be keeping next Shabbos? I mean, look at their faces, right? I mean, what do you mean, why shouldn't I keep, do you know who I am? I'm the president of I don't know, this Medrash, and my children go to yeshiva. My wife has a sheitel 3 feet high and 7 feet long, without saying anything bad, They asked the Heilige Chassam Sofer, this is the real. They asked Chassam Sofer too, and it was the greatest. They asked him, are you keeping next Shabbos? And he says, I hope and I pray I should deserve it. I hope and I pray I should deserve it. Chassam Sofer says, anybody who trusts himself is not to be trusted. It's gewalt, right? He said two things. Anybody who trusts himself is not to be trusted. And he says, I'm not afraid of any human being, but I'm afraid of somebody who's not afraid of God. It's gewalt, right? Anyway, you know what Sukkot is? We're not talking about Averas. Averas we got rid of in Simos Torah. What we need the most, gewalt. Can you stop being so stuck on mitzvahs? I don't even want to be stuck on film. Every day when I wake up, I want it to be the first time. You know what's happening in the world, even between people? So everything is the second time. When you to open your heart, this is one of the sweetest things I've ever heard. Rab Nachman says, if I put on film today because I put them on yesterday, it's a waste of time to put them on. I don't mean Chas v'Sholem. If you're not on the level, don't put them on. But on his level, because then a lot of people say, oh, I heard the story of Rab Nachman, I stop putting on film. And like someone heard there's a machloik in Rashi Rabbeinu Tam, he says, I don't want to get mixed up, it's machloikis, So, this he walked into the shul, took on a pair of film, they told him, oh, this Rabbeinu Tam's film. He says, I daven so fast, when he comes back, I'll be finished. Anyway. Where were we? Got mixed up with Rabbeinu Tam. One? So Rab Nosson writes a letter to his son. He says, do you know how much the Heilige Rebbe, Rab Nachman, was into doing everything for the first time? He says, I want you to know the Heilige Rebbe, remember Rab Nachman had TB, he was so sick. And when he spit out the last billionth ounce of his lungs, that's when he left the world and he was still alive. He says, I want you to know his whole body was not alive anymore. And for the last time in his life, he said, Shema Yisrael. So he says, I swear to you, he said it for the first time. He says, what a privilege to leave the world by saying Shema Yisrael for the first time. So what is Aharon HaKohen all about? Basically, I want you to know the Sukkah is like the Beis HaMikdash. And the utmost fixing of the golden calf was Aharon HaKohen. Right? And just listen to this one more thing. What's the Sukkah all about? You remember Aharon HaKohen in the Holy of Holiest, when he was sacrificing the incense, the Gemara says that the smoke of the incense is the Sukkah, right? Anana Kovet. And here you have to, this is a must. Someone asked the Heilige Rishna, what does it have to do with Aharon HaKohen? The clouds of glory, clouds of giving honor. So he says like this, and I want you to know this was a very high non-Jewish brother who just came from India. He always thinks that going to India is a new thing, you know. Even the time of the Krishna, people go to India. Sorry. He came back from India, and he knew a lot about the Jewish religion. He says to the Krishna, can you explain to me this about the clouds of glory, the smoke? The Krishna says, you travel all over the world. Have you been in Siberia? He says, yes. He said, have you ever noticed when two people talk to each other who hate each other, then their breath doesn't mingle. This breath goes like this, this goes like this. And when people love each other, then their breath mingles. He says, when Aaron Cohen was in this world, people loved each other so much that their breath mingles and became clouds of glory. So you see, Aaron Cohen, after Yom Kippur, there is so much love in the air. And here, this is the deepest. You know why we're doing something for the second time? Because we really don't love it that much. Okay, the first time, the second time I do it by force. Means by the second time there is something inside of me who says, don't do it, but I'm still doing it because I did it yesterday, right? Want you to know something? How do I know who's my soulmate? Tell you. When I meet a girl the first time, the second time I meet her for the second time, I wouldn't bother me taking her out the third time. The second time I meet her because I promised, I told her last time we'll meet, so I'll meet you again. Right? When you love somebody the most, the second time is even more fire. I can't wait to see you. Right? It's not the second time. This is the real first time. So you see, Aaron HaKohen brought so much love. Loving the Torah, loving God, loving each other so much, right? That we're completely out of habit. That we are absolutely out of habit. It's awesome, this Torah, right? It's so awesome because this is one of our biggest sicknesses. We all are mamish, or some Yidden are stuck. Do you know how many young people in Israel would like to be real frum, but they're stuck on being not frum, right? I'll tell you something. Last night was unbelievable. I was invited in this nightclub in Tel Aviv. I don't know if I told you, no. It's from 1 to 3, 4. Okay, this person came to visit me and he invited me. And my personal idea is you never say no, because I didn't invite myself, he invited me, maybe I'm supposed to be there, right? Coming in there, and they're very sweet, and there may be 150 people sitting there, Tel Aviv. It's a cheap place, it's right by the harbor, the Chof HaNamal, you know. Okay, the first, and it's a stand-up comedy. Okay, the first comedian. I just want to give you very coarse taste. Imagine I would tell you a joke about a toilet. Maybe you laugh the first time. But if I tell you jokes about it for 45 minutes, it becomes so disgusting you can't even laugh anymore. But toilet was already a high level. The second one, I don't want to say what, it got mamish lower, lower, lower. You were sinking in, and you think you can't get lower. No, come on. This was the highest. Can't nicht wait till the other one is coming. And I'm supposed to go on after. So finally, and I took Neshama with me, you know. Neshama sitting and she says, Daddy, you have to leave, you have to leave. It's mamish below your dignity, it's below the dignity of any Jew to be here. And she says, you have to leave, and she says, mamish, if you don't leave, I leave, you know, she's taking the whole time. And I wanted to leave also, but on the other hand, Anyway, your humble brother went on stage. Davening. I have to tell you something. It's good for anybody who's in the public eye. I was once in Livorno. You know what this is? In Italy, Livorno. And you know who was there? The Ramchal, Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. And anybody who has been in the mikveh of the Arizal knows it's awesome, right? The second most awesome mikveh I've ever been in my life was in Ramchal's mikveh. I tell you something, when I walked out from the mikveh, you know, I was not prepared. That is awesome on their steps. And I keeled over and I fell down the steps. Well, sure, nothing happened, I just hit myself a little bit, but I was like, besides myself. And they are old, you know, the Nazis didn't completely destroy the mikveh, they didn't destroy. They destroyed the synagogue, but not the mikveh. And a few things are still there. I found this old Sfardische Siddur. And that says something unbelievable. Whenever you have to do something in public, before you begin saying it, you have to say, Mama, she says 100 times or 1,000 times. V'noach motza chen be'en Hashem. V'noach motza chen be'en Hashem. And Noah found grace in the eyes of God. Because you want to find grace in the eyes of people when you're saying something. You know, saved my life 1,000 times. Sometimes, you know, have no way. You know, they are into something else, right? And suddenly I have to do something which they like. I mean, the whole time I'm sitting and the Shama says, let's go, and I say, anyway, to make it very short, I had the privilege of getting on. I say, listen, brothers and sisters, you're the cutest kid in the world. But I tell you the truth, it took a lot out of me not to leave. Because it's too coarse. It's too coarse. Because I think coarseness also has limits. But on the other hand, and I said, you know what you are selling here, I don't want to buy. I don't want to buy this. And you shouldn't sell it to each other either. But I tell you something, on the other hand, this is not the only thing you're selling. Because you're Yidden, you're so sweet, you're so holy. And I would like to buy your holiness, I would like to buy your sweetness. So anyway, I said, okay, let's sing a niggun and purify the air, and then I'll tell you. I told them some two Chassidish stories. It was so sweet. And then it was singing, and do you know how many want to come for Shabbos? And if I wouldn't have been so late, you know, everybody says, Shevitana Ocha, Shevitana Ocha. If I would have had Reb Nachman there. And you know, 3 of the people who laughed the most about those jokes, you know, they were mamish into it. I mentioned the word Reb Nachman. So one of them was up to me and says, Ani Chassid Nilav Shel Reb Nachman. You know? I mean, he doesn't have a yamri, no tzitzis, you know, but I thought to myself, Gewalt, Reb Nachman is dealing with him, right? What do we know, right? So you see what it is? After Yom Kippur, Aaron HaKohen is mamish making new people out of us. We're not stuck on any mitzvah. We're not stuck on any avera. Because we're not stuck on any philosophy. We are not stuck on anything in the world. And this is what he says. What does it mean to sit in the shade of God? Seder Devem Nusa. Listen to this, how beautiful this is. What does it mean to be aware of God's presence? To be aware of God's presence is that I'm completely free. That I'm absolutely completely free. Skavalt is that deep, right? Not only don't want to do something wrong, even my doing good is mamish come to Gewalt, no? It's awesome, awesome, awesome. Listen to those words here. Shehu tikkun, my Hebrew isn't so good, v'yasher v'hayisha, libas b'nei Yisrael, shlihi ba'akshus b'chol dover. Ki zeh hoyer ki nusosu lifnei v'lifnim. Listen to this, friends. Those words, every word is worth $2 million. What does it mean to be in the Holy of Holiest? To be holy means I'm doing a holy act. Holy of Holiest, that I'm doing it completely free. Meaning to say, every morning I'm putting on film, it's holy. If every morning I would be on the level to do it for the first time, then it's the Holy of Holiest. Absolutely, completely, absolutely in the presence of God. So you know what it is? On Sukkot we are collecting all our mitzvahs. Like physically we are collecting everything from, not collecting, how do you say, gathering everything from the field. And Sukkot is called Chag HaOsiv. We gather everything into our heart. We gather everything together. Right? What I do, how am I fixing all my mitzvahs? On Sukkot I'm fixing all my mitzvahs, everything I ever did, to mamash, to make it the Holy of Holiest. I'm lifting up my mitzvahs, everything I did. And you know how beautiful it is, like, then first, just remember the shockling of the lulav, right? I'm shockling to all four sides, right? I'm not stuck on any side. Maybe tonight I would love if the Rebbe permit me to show you a little bit how to bench lulav, because sadly enough, oh, you showed them already? Not yet. Maybe it was with me so often on Sukkot, you know, go out. So you don't need me, but for all cases maybe. Shabbos mir Shana Rabbe gewalt, Pamela gewalt. In case I forget, I'm giving you no Mazel Tov for your birthday. You hear, friends? What's the whole thing of shopping lulav in the Sukkot? I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck when I'm up there, and I'm not stuck when I'm down there. I'm never stuck. Ever. Ever, ever. And you know what it is, mamash? I'm gathering all my mitzvahs. And you know, when am I tasting my mitzvahs? After they are cleansed from being stuck on them. I want you to know something very deep. Imagine I take anything like a fir tree. I want to smell it. It doesn't smell. I have to move it around a little bit, right? I have to do something with it, then it begins to smell, right? When do my own mitzvahs begin to smell beautiful? When do I taste Gan Eden in my own mitzvahs? When they're not stuck, right? You imagine I kept all the Shabbos the whole year, but my Shabbos was so stationary, nothing. Come Sukkot, I take all my Shabbos, all my film, all the pages of the Gemara I learned, and mamash, Gewalt. I want you to know something unbelievable. This Rab Leibel Eger Teurer, Gewalt, it's good to remember forever. He said, Yaakov, why didn't God could have made it in such a way that Yitzchak calls Yaakov and says, I bless you. So he says the deepest term in the world. Everybody knows Avraham Avinu is light, Yitzchak is taste, but Amim Kasha Hafti, right? And I make it fast. Yaakov is Reach. Re'ei Reach B'ni, right? Mashiach is smell, right? He says when something is straight, everything goes right, it doesn't smell. When it's broken a little bit, right? Then it begins to smell. So Yaakov, before he received the blessing, had to be just a little bit broken, right? So when he walked in, Yitzchak says, hey, Reach B'ni, hey, Gewalt, are you smelling good, right? So you see what it is, after the brokenness on Yom Kippur, when I realized my mitzvahs were not so good, and my affairs were a lot bigger, then suddenly I'm broken enough. And Aaron HaKohen cleanses me, and suddenly my mitzvahs begin to smell. And anybody knows in the sukkah, I tell you something, I bless you with the best sukkahs in the world, but sukkahs, you know, mamish. First of all, the fragrance in the sukkah. Anybody was mamish a real good sukkah, right? Sadly enough, a lot of people want to save money, and they take bamboo which has no fragrance, and they knock it in on the sukkah, and they don't have time for no sukkah, and they go in there and just make kiddush, eat, and then they eat in the house. I'm not knocking it. But it's not the sukkahs we're talking about, right? I don't know if you know that the most beautiful sukkah in the world is the Baba Rebbe. Why is it the most beautiful sukkah? Because in Ropshitz and also in Lublin, the whole dynasty, the Rebbe's mamish do everything in the sukkah themselves. I mean, the Chassidim help. But do you know that there are 91 birds in the sukkah? Because sukkah is numerically 91. And, well, let's wait till we finish. 91. Sukkah is the Gematria 91. Rega. You know, God has two names. Yudke Vovke is 26. And the other name, Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, together is 91. And also, Amen is 91, right? Mem Nun Aleph, Amen. So in Sons and in Ropshitz was a thing that you hang up 91 little birds in the sukkah. And the Rebbe himself makes those birds, because also his father would make them pensions. They're mamish tiny little birds. What? Birds, right. Because, you know, how good is the Shulchan Asadeh Tavramsha Dochel Kol Kadish Gnoshe Irin Kadish Nuvnei Noshe Chevas Barov Alfishmai, right? The birds are everywhere. That's the birds bringing God's voice to us, you know, flying in the air. And then he has 91 lights in the sukkah, little electric bulbs. Everything is 91. And the schach, and you know, the Rebbe is sitting in the sukkah, and he literally does not take his eyes off the schach. But he, you know, Ropshitz is such always hidden that you shouldn't notice it, you know. So he makes like this, I mean, to say that he has to look for something, you know. The Mamish doesn't take his eyes off the schach. And you know, Yudke Vovke is God's name, which gives us the strength to be completely infinite, beyond time and space. The Shem Aleph Dalet Nun Yud is God, the borders of the world. It's day, it's night, it's summer, it's winter. This is how old I am. This is how old you are. It means Aleph Dalet Nun Yud is all the borders, and Yudke Vovke is beyond borders. And the sukkah, it all melts together. Suddenly, I realize, sure there are borders, different borders, right? The borders are not borders. So he says, in the sukkah, I taste a little bit everything I did in this world. And then the second night Sukkot, I'm tasting a little bit everything good you did. I'm so glad it's your mitzvah. So I'm glad. Givaldim, I'm glad that you're so holy. And you know, do you need more beyond borders than not being confined to my own stupidity? If everything good is happening to me, and if it's happening to you, I don't give a damn. You know, how much are we really working on ourselves to reach this awesome high level of being happy with somebody else? You know, this is, I mean, I don't have to tell you, everybody knows. And the deepest thing is, if you reach that level, you're completely out of death. You know, imagine just in a relationship, if people are happy with each other, there's no death in it. And if they mamish themselves, not you, I, and not you, I, and not you, I, and not you, just, that's the smell of death in it. Covered to sing one song, I know I'm late, but who cares? Do you think anybody will come back tonight, or they had enough?
It's hard to say, hard to say.
Thank you a million times. David always has a little speech at the end, no? What? I tell you what, I would, but I have to be somewhere in a few minutes. Okay, he asked me, how could I say Brother.
You can all turn your tape recorders off. Okay. As always, I guess the main announcement is we're just so happy to have